welcome Arturs with a round of applause in order to warm him up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the introduction, Emmanuel. Thank you, Michael, for the opportunity to be here with you guys. I think it's the topics that we are discussing and covering are really, let's say, according to the modern environment, because we're all living in the kind of revolutioning era when the travel industry, rent-a-car industry is really changing on a daily basis. And I mean, I'm in the business for roughly 25 years. I still remember the times when we had bookings coming through the fax and people calling over the phones and trying to do the manual reservations, and then you had a line of customers waiting to have all these manual contracts, and look what's happening now. And even more, I think that again, if we compare travel sector and specifically rent-a-car segment with other industries, including airline, for example, including banking segment, then I think that we have still a lot of potential to improve the things, because I mean, we were just talking on the way in a cab today with Mariana. I forgot the last time when I was in the bank, because all the things are happening in, let's say, through like all the digital tools, all the verifications and everything else. You receive everything automatically. The last thing that is lacking is, I don't know, some robot that is driving you the credit card, even if you need it, because the last two accounts that I had personally, I had the virtual cards, so I didn't even actually order the physical ones. So in that prospect, I think that we still have a lot of opportunities to improve, let's say, the service, to improve the business. So let me share the topics for today. So I wanted to look up quickly on the managed fleet management automation. That is basically the basis of the, let's say, of the costs and basis of the business, because that's where we expect the return on investment coming from. We will look up a little bit into the price management and, let's say, rate optimization options, and what does it, let's say, give us. And then my favorite topic is about the customer enhancements through the digital rental, because I think that we are already living in this, let's say, moment. We're already experiencing that, but we're just trying to resist and still believe that we don't need it. And again, talking about personal examples, I recently had to visit my doctor because I really got scared after another conference that I'm not recognizing all the faces and all the names. And when I came to the doctor, I said, listen, I have a problem. I think something is happening probably with my head, and maybe you should look in. And he said, how many contacts did you have during the conference? I said, well, probably roughly 150 meetings and about, I don't know, 300 emails. And he said, how many people do you have on LinkedIn? I said, well, about 6,000 people and maybe 7,000 on Facebook. So I said, can you imagine that? I mean, a couple of years ago, the normal standard PC wouldn't be able to run this kind of processes. And now you expect that from your old school brain? I said, no way. So, of course, we cannot imagine our lives without, let's say, Apple phones, without computers and etc. So why should we resist in our business operations and in our business processes? To make one minor, let's say, explanation that I'm not a completely, let's say, trying to raise human interaction, I still think that the really interesting quote that I found from the professor, he was a Norwegian professor who said that actually before the Second World War, so it was like ages ago, the technology is not our master, it's actually a dangerous master, but it's a useful servant. So the whole idea that I have in mind, that actually we should utilize the technology. We cannot absolutely replace the people, but we can make the processes and the business more efficient, more simplified, more user-friendly, make it enjoyable for us as business owners, for customers who use the service, and make everybody happy. Just to make it a little bit more practical, whenever I talk especially to these skeptics, and I had a couple of meetings like this today with people, the old school type of managers, who are absolutely confident that they can do anything manually, that they don't need any technology, that pricing is better done by the humans. I always ask them, can you make really drastic changes in your business? Like saying, for example, not talking about any crisis or anything else, but saying like in a normal environment, can you really grow the revenue by 25%, for example? Or can you cut the cost by 25% just without any, again, technological integrations and innovations, just using the human factor? I personally doubt. And can the technology do that? I think that's check it out and let's try to answer this question by the end of the speech. And Einar, you can be the one who will be answering that, right?
Right on time.
Right on time, exactly. So, what are the main factors that are influencing the, let's say, the soft cost of the business? Of course, this is the management of our fleet, right? Because we're all looking on cost efficiency, we're all trying to increase the revenues, and we are trying to optimize the assets, which is our fleet. And it was a funny case again out of the practical environment when we were doing the presentation of rental system to one of our customers. And we can consider it as a mid-sized fleet, but the customer was having about 1,000 cars. And the manager of the business, the owner of the business, was actually an old school, who called them the legacy person, right? We talked about the legacy type of person, not to offend anyone, who was absolutely confident that they can still run 1,000 cars in Excel sheets and in paper work environment. And he was absolutely confident that he has been doing that for 30 years and there was absolutely no problem. And then suddenly, while talking to this customer, to this manager, the customer appears in the office with the return of the vehicle. And then we see the interaction happening between the agent and the customer. And actually, we see that something embarrassing is happening. And it appeared to be that the agent at the counter, they couldn't find where the vehicle is coming from. They couldn't figure out what is the car. And the only thing that was sure that the customer said, I rented it from you, so I wanted to return it to you. And when we continued this discussion, we just showed it as an example that losing an asset that is, 40, 50,000 euros worth, just because it was not showing up in some Excel sheet, is probably a little bit outdated. And that's why I think that the fleet automation is definitely something must have. If we look on the business, let's say business processes and the KPIs we're all trying to stick to, probably we all agree that still revenue per day and utilization are the two main factors that are influencing the business, because happily or regretfully, but profitability in car rental is not a marginal thing. We don't sell something with a margin like it's happening in the stores. So we kind of have to influence these two factors. And again, naturally, the utilization and revenue per day are kind of coherent with each other. So whenever we're trying to improve the utilization by making longer rentals, we're sacrificing the revenue, and vice versa. When we're trying to increase the revenue, often we need to go for shorter rentals. So that's why combining these things is what brings the success. So we want our vehicles to bring more money and be utilized for a longer time. Can this be done manually? Probably. But as per me, I prefer setting up the rules to the system. I prefer using the technology that allows you again to make the forecasts, to analyze the details, to analyze the future prognosis, same like we're doing with the weather. I mean, our grandmas were teaching us that we can look outside on behavior of birds and cats, and then based on this, decide is it going to be cold tomorrow or rainy. But probably none of us are doing this anymore. I mean, we look at our iPhone and we trust that it's going to be cloudy tomorrow or it's going to be sunny, and based on this we dress. So same with the business. We probably can try and forecast some things based just on our intuition, and intuition is a big thing in business, absolutely. But I think that it's smarter that we use the tools that are allowing us to scrape the data, and not only scrape it, but also analyze the data, and not just be related on some manager who is smart enough to do it manually again, and to do some Excel sheets and bring you back the results. So we already discussed about the functions, and again, we can cover the fleet management, we can improve the performance of the vehicles, we can improve the utilization, and the next step, what we want to do is improve the revenue per day, right? Or the revenue per unit. Whoever is considering these KPIs, it's really individual and business. But all we come to the point that rates is something that we look as the second, let's say, part of the success story. And again, in the modern environment, when an average business is having, about 20, 30 different sources of bookings, that are having about 2, 3, 4 different source markets of bookings, can this be multiplied and analyzed manually? In my opinion, absolutely no. And whoever is saying that they can manually look on this, let's say, market in general and come back with the super duper rates. We probably know a couple of people like this, but these are more of an exception than of a standard. So I think that analyzing the data, thresholding the availability, forecasting the events, and checking the competitors is much easier performed and done with the technology that we will be talking shortly in following presentations as well. There are simple steps, again, scheduling rules, scheduling on-demand searches, rate comparison, and dynamic adjustments that are done to this technology that we'll be talking today, and that is bringing us the, let's say, performance-based rates, performance-based numbers that we further utilize to our business. And my favorite topic, of course, comes to the enhanced service that can be done through the digital tools again, and the digital rental that is again one step behind the other travel services like airlines, where for the last flights I really interacted with human being only when ordering coffee on the plane, which probably can soon be replaced by a robot that will be delivering your coffee. But otherwise, you book the ticket, you do all the upsells, you do all the registrations, online check-ins and everything else with the digital tools, right? And the main factor that I hear from the rent-a-car people is that they're often afraid to lose that human interaction because of the, let's say, upselling options. So let's say, how can you upsell the service, and how can you, let's say, explain to the customer that there's something else available at the counter if there's going to be no human? I mean, look, what's happening with the airlines. I mean, really, we're getting upsold for everything, for the seat, for the coffee, for extra space, for extra luggage, and the systems are really well set up, so you cannot skip these stages. So the Ryanair, let's say, system keeps pulling you back to these points where you need to check in that you want to, increase the luggage space, that you want to get these extra ways or extra leg room or extra coffee or bottle of water next to your seats or anything. So we're absolutely not losing the revenue. We're increasing the opportunities because the customer enhanced systems are actually allowing us to control the behavior of our customers. And again, I will come back to the example. I keep probably repeating myself with these examples, but I think this is the easiest way to understand it. And we agreed today that we're gonna try to use the simple language, right? So look at the iPhone that is really checking our behavior, that is checking our contacts, that is checking probably our Facebook activities, right? And coming back with a specifically targeting advertising and information that is useful for us. Because in today's overloaded, let's say, communication flow, if they start bringing us something that is not needed to us, the conversion of these ads, the conversion of these services is going to be absolutely zero. And same can be happening with our services. I mean, if we have this information about our customers, if we have this information about customer journey, we can really be more precise with what we are offering, at what, let's say, stage we are offering that, and at what rates are we offering that. And when customers are hopefully with high retention due to this are coming back, we already know them as our friends and relatives. We know what they did previously. We keep the control through the CRM systems, what they prefer, what kind of services they loved, which car groups they wanted to have, and etc., etc. So Einar is getting really upset due to something, but I hope he's on the same side for me. So optimizing the operational part of the business by decreasing these costs, by increasing the efficiency, by decreasing unnecessary human resources sometimes, because again, a lot of these digital enhancements allow us to let the people relax a little bit more and use the stuff only when it's needed. We can eliminate things like unnecessary night shifts and let's say after hour works and things like this. And we can even consider eventually eliminating the super high costs that are related, for example, to airport locations, because we all know that in the major airports, some locations recently had an example, I won't mention the city, but an example where the location at the airport was a 5 million investment. And now tell me, like, what size of the fleet and business you really need to pay back the 5 million investment. So if we come to this digital environment when people are really having the digital experience with picking up the vehicle, that they go directly to the parking lot and they do all the verification over the phone, they do all the check-in procedure over the phone. I mean, the necessity for these lines and the airport locations may probably also be eliminated. And everybody's happy, the business is happy, customers are happy. So I think that let's not resist, but let's really look into this transformation. And going back one step, back versus our daily routines and our operational, let's say, side of the business, the easiest way to do this transformation is actually to draw a certain vision for your business, where you want to be tomorrow, where you want to be the day after tomorrow, and kind of draw some kind of roadmap. Because sometimes, or not sometimes, but always, I meet, in my interaction, I meet two different type of people. There's nothing in between. There's one that is always pessimistic about the technology and say, no, we don't need any changes, now we're not going to pay the money. Everything is fine, we have been doing that for 20 years, please leave me alone, don't even tell me anything. And we have opposite, those guys who have 4 cars in their business, they are planning to add 2 more vehicles tomorrow, and they say that this is the growth of the business and they need all the technology immediately, so they want everything simultaneously at the same time. And neither of these scenarios are working. So I think that the realistic roadmap of creating these step-by-step improvements and implementing some of the things and designing this kind of planning for your improvements on technology is something that makes the whole experience, let's say, realistic, cost efficient, and let's say less stressful, I guess, for the business, for the customers, for the employees, and for everybody else. So I think that I'm running out of my time, and it was my pleasure to share my thoughts. As we agreed, we didn't go into too many details, but I'm more than happy if somebody has comments, questions, or just emotions. Mariano promised that he'll start screaming. And when we are bombed with arguments like this is not secure for the business or this is not safe for the auxiliary sales, this is all crap, because it's a safe. I mean, people these days can get loans in the bank with just digital verification of, I don't know, several hundred thousands, right, without leaving their home. And banks are really the ones who are not making any unsafe operations. So why do we think that renting a car is unsafe doing it via digital tools? And same with auxiliary sales. As I said, I mentioned airlines as an example. We're really not risking this, we're improving this, because very often we're living in the environment when people actually are hesitant versus some human who is trying to sell you something. We say, don't sell me, don't be pushy. But when a technology is offering you, just click this, check this, would you like to see in the insurance? Maybe you want to do the upsell, maybe you want to do the babysit, just whatever. We kind of take it easy, right? Because it's iPhone who is offering it. So we click, take, check, then go back. Maybe I choose the better car. Maybe I take the fancy baby seat, whatever. Yeah. So it's functioning vice versa. And of course, I mean, preparing people for the sales, preparing, let's say, human interaction for the agents. I mean, it's a tough cookie, because we all know, especially when we have these peak seasons and we need 30%, 40% more stuff at our locations. That's not easy to find these people anymore. And it's not easy to train them and to prepare them to make it efficient, nice customer service.
Any question from the audience?
I hope, maybe you didn't hear in the back, but we had a question, and it's absolutely a proper one, because we are now living in the environment when the sale is actually happening 2 steps before the let's say the pickup process itself that I was talking about, or trying to make a scenery. And I absolutely agree, but my response to that would be that of course this let's say this first step of booking should be done together with the large OTAs, with the brokers, with the aggregators, and I think they have no choice but to follow this technological advancement as well. And many brokers that I know are already working on this for, let's say, the last couple of years. And they've been enhancing, let's say, this user experience on their website. They were checking where the customer prefers to get these extra things, and adding these links, for example, for self-verification processes and self-booking options is not a big deal anymore. So yes, some will follow this, some will not. And in my opinion, those who will not follow this, they will just lose the market. I mean, there's definitely going to be a couple of dinosaurs who are going to just disappear due to the fact that they're going to be doing it in an old school process. And those who will advance the technology, those are going to be the ones who win.
Last year during ITB, on the Revenue Machine podcast, I've interviewed Nicolas Lenouet, who is the head of contracting for Expedia Car. And they are pushing a lot for the contactless. For me, that's a big fear, because if these guys are able to control from A to Z without having you in the middle except to clean cars, you will lose all the interaction. So I agree with Arturs, either you take the wave now and you develop these services for your direct customers, so then you can retain, and we will go to the retaining process with Shadi afterwards. All these big guys, we will do it. And the customer is willing to have it. Does not want to spend time anymore. It's over. We have a fantastic opportunity. Why? Because the techno is available. Now it's available for anybody. You can start this super techno thing for 100 cars.
You can start it even with less cars, and the most important thing that actually the investments that we're looking at, initial costs, for example, and running costs, are not that huge compared to the improvements of the performance that you can actually yield from that. So we're really talking about adequate things. So we're not saying that it's only Hertz, Avis, or Six that can afford to run these kind of improvements. No, absolutely. A small mid-sized company with 50, 100, 300 cars can absolutely have these costs, because it's a reality. This technology is available. So we're not implementing a bicycle anymore. That's the key point.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation, Arturs.
Thank you.
Please give him a round of applause.